काय म्हणणार?
Everyone, good evening.
Hello.
Yeah, good evening.
Namo Namaha Suswagatam. A very good evening to all. I am Sonal Surve and I will be hosting the webinar along with Anku Singh and Stuti Dua. Our topic for today is the crucial role of HR in growing organizations, and our resource person is Mr. Avijit Shastri. The webinar is organized by PMA. PMA is India's premier management association, established in 1977 as an independent trust and public organization. It was founded by all-time great industrialist, late Padma Bhushan S.L. Kirloskar, late Mr. V.S. Vaidya, Swastik Group, late Mr. C.S. Kirloskar, Kirloskar Group, late Dr. N.A. Kalyani, Kalyani Group, and late Mr. C.V. Jog, Bank of Maharashtra. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Pradeep Tupe, sir, Vice President of.
I extend my warm welcome to each of the participants who is present here, and many of you will be joining because the change in timing or rather odd timing we have. Normally we have programs at 8 p.m. but today we have at 7:45, so they might have got confused. But anyway, all the participants who are present, I extend my warm welcome, and on behalf of each one of you, I extend my warm welcome to Mr. Avijit Shastri, today's resource person, as well as Mr. Samir Kukade, sir, who would be chairing today's session and giving his concluding remarks at the end. Both of you, sirs, welcome on behalf of Pune Management Association.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, recognize the presence of veteran in the field, Mr. Dattatreya Ambulkar, Mr. Biman Gandhi.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah. Both of them our own members. They have spared time to attend this. Like yesterday, we have session for HR today. So let me say something about, or rather, it may be repetition, but let me say something about Pune Management Association, how it helps to the HR professionals. Because you might have seen many HR organizations having their own activities for the benefit of obviously their members, but PME is distinctly different. We believe that HR professionals should also develop other skills or skills in the other fields also. So yes, PMA, with the help of large number of webinars, such training programs, seminars, and various other knowledge sharing programs, we help you to enrich and you can say upskill your knowledge in other fields also. So this is one of the key features of Pune Management Association, which is distinctly different from other HR professionals or other HR organizations. Secondly, in your day-to-day life, you would be required to handle a couple of, you can say, jobs like recruitment, then compliances, and finding out right people. So yes, Pune Management Association is there to help you. Just to cut it short, we have our own employment exchange, which will help you to get right sort of people to for your organization. As I said, through our various programs, you can upskill your skills for your benefit as well as the benefit of your organization. So, and yes, we have consultancy projects also going on. Day after tomorrow, we'll be opening another new venture that is called Quality Katta. But this Katta concept is extended to other areas also, like HR, marketing, and other fields also. So these are the various ways we help you. PMA helps you not only develop your skills but your organization skills also. Next week we'll be forming a new group that is called Women Managers Club or Women Group. So that will be exclusively doing activities in the field of whatever is required for the women managers. So these are the various activities we are undertaking. So with this brief introduction, I once again extend my welcome to Mr. Abhijit ji, as well as Samir ji, and others who are present for today's session, and hand it over back to Sonal.
I'll take over.
Yeah.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. I am Anku Singh, pursuing MBA HR, and I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Abhijit Shastri Sir. Sir is an alumnus of XLRI Jamshedpur HR batch of 2006. He carries a diverse experience of HR business, partnering ranging from legacy organizations like Nestle and Tata Motors to startup like 1MG Technologies. Not only this, he has combined rich HR experience with a penchant for entrepreneurship to be in the business of HR. He is a frantic supporter of HR transformation through outsourcing and aims to be at cups of demand and supply of HR products and services. With this, I request everyone to stay connected to the session and keep posting your question here in the chat box. I'll be taking the question at the end of the session. Sir, I welcome you to share your views on the topic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anku. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. This is a great opportunity to be here and share my thoughts with this esteemed gathering. Without losing any more of your precious time, let me share my screen and get started with my presentation. Um, yeah, give me a second. Visible, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, visible. But can it be full screen?
It's at
Can yeah.
No, it
so
is full screen only.
it will get bigger than this. So Google Meet has this constraint. I mean, it doesn't get as big as maybe some other.
Okay, okay,
So
okay,
it's
okay,
screen at
okay,
my end,
okay.
right?
That's okay.
Thank you so much. So I'll get started without any further ado. Crucial role of HR in growing organizations. So Avijay Shastri here. I represent an organization called One HR Market. Right, we are creating a marketplace for exploration and procurement of HR products and services. It's a growing business right now. We have employee engagement and learning and development curated right now, but we are planning to expand it. As Anku mentioned, I really plan to be at the demand and supply of HR products and services because organizations are growing organizations. Because as and which is why I think we came up with the topic because I personally believe HR is extremely crucial, particularly in growing organizations. So we will just explore and deep dive a lot more into this particular belief of mine that the role of HR is way more crucial, way more important in growing organizations as compared to other ecosystem, right? What all will we cover today? Of course, why am I saying this? Why is a growing organization a great opportunity for HR in my view? I'll share my thoughts there. A lot of questions were captured when the forms were being filled, and what qualities are needed in an HR professional to make the best use of this profession and particularly this opportunity. So I'll explore those qualities a little bit. Yeah. Some so in fact, top three trends that I really wish to discuss, which will possibly influence all of us, in the times to come, that I would like to share. And after that, we will just get into a very hands-on practical discussion around initiatives which can be taken, particularly in growing organizations across five key HR functions. So, talent acquisition, capability building, etc., etc. There are five functions, and in within that function, what initiatives I believe should be taken by HR, I will just cover them. Yeah. Let's get going. My belief. Let me just elaborate on it. Why it's a great opportunity for HR. Several advantages which I have experienced having worked in this diverse set of organizations. A 100-year old organization like Nestle to a 3 years old organization like 1MG, to an organization like a Mondelez or Tata Motors, which is somewhere in between because 50, 60, 70 years old. Right. So, what are the advantages for growing organizations? First of all, most important, the stakeholders are much more approachable. So for growing organizations, the CEOs and the business heads and the head of departments are much more approachable. I mean, it's easy for to take this fact for granted, but in large organizations, you almost never meet your CEO, right? You very rarely meet your business head because your business head is heading 10,000 people and your CEO is heading 1 lakh, right? And you thirst for that visibility, that if I got 20 minutes with my CEO, I'll just share so many ideas. that I have. I just share so many insights on what is happening, and I have felt that thirst. And then I have been in a startup where I met the CEO regularly. I have seen the difference. Great advantage in influencing. You have a great opportunity to execute things way faster and get visibility for doing them. I would never want any HR professional to take this aspect for granted, right? Growing organizations provide this uh, uniqueness to all of us, and it's a great enabler. Second, the culture is in a formative stage. Yeah, I mean, all of us have talked about culture, and it's difficult to define. But one thing is for sure. Again, the 100 years to 3 years difference. Sometimes at one time it becomes so ingrained that it's almost like you're fighting it. And with organizations like which are like really old, it becomes cast in stone, almost cast in stone, right? And you just feel as an HR professional, I wish this one cultural aspect I could change, and there is nothing that you can do, frankly speaking, right? Things happen at a very strategic level, but at a junior, mid, even senior management level, it becomes very difficult. Whereas in growing organizations, the culture is still forming, right? It is much easier to set up right behaviors and show results. Ultimately, culture is not just for the sake of for a good word, right? A good culture leads to great business results, as simple as that. If your culture is bureaucratic, your business results will be slower. If your culture is cynical, you will have high attrition. If your culture is on the other extreme, high performance, you will have a competitive advantage. And culture is something which HR is a custodian of. Having said that, if you are a custodian of culture and you can't change it, then where is the fun? Right? So in growing organizations, you can still build the culture, change the culture very quickly, blend in your own thoughts, have right behaviors before the organizations become so mammoth that things can't be changed. Again, a great advantage. Third and very critical, right? Again, talent is everything, right? Whatever business results we deliver through talent. And where do we get talent from, and how do we get talent? Very, very important is to attract talent, right? Now, larger organizations, to their undue advantage, maybe have this have this brand around them, which a growing organization doesn't. But then what this means for HR is that a word of mouth for good people practices attracts talent. In fact, that is one of the biggest things which will attract talent. Word of mouth works everywhere. It's not just for shopping patterns, right? Candidates speak to each other, professionals speak to each other, people refer or people don't refer. We know the people who have referred people. We will never know how many people were never referred to us because an internal employee wasn't very happy with the people practices, right? And which is where HR can directly make a lot of difference. Yeah. So these three very strong points I feel are great advantages for anyone who is leading or a part of HR in a growing organization. Immensely important in my view. Yeah. Connected to this, what are the qualities needed in my view in an HR professional to make use of these opportunities? So every opportunity has the set of things required to really meet that opportunity. So, and again, in context of growing organizations, what are the qualities I would just like to share with you? First and foremost, a very strong business understanding. Now, this will sound rhetorical to many of you that I mean, every HR needs to understand business. What's the big deal? The difference again is it is easier to develop this in a growing organization. In a complex organizations, which is multi-geography and which is really spread across so many functions, and there is no central repository of knowledge easily available. It's very difficult to develop a business understanding. Ultimately, it is very easy to say that understand a business. You're an HR person. You should understand how do we sell, how do we manufacture, how do we handle quality, how do we handle technology, how do we handle vendors. You should know you are an HR person. It's very easy to say, but it's very difficult to do if it's a vast ocean that you are swimming in, right? But again, growing organizations, it is easy to develop this. And once you build your fundamentals of business, fundamentals don't change, right? But one should have the willingness. We should not live in those boundaries that you're an HR person. I mean, that's a sales thing. No, you should know how does a salesperson sell. Yeah, that's a manufacturing thing. That's a quality. We have to know what are the levers of a particular function. How is success measured for a particular function? Very strong understanding is required. Yeah, that is the first, foremost, biggest quality, easier to do in growing organizations. Yeah. Second, a focus on fundamentals. So HR has, like any other community, has a lot of you know, great things flowing around, and they're all crucial. But I think the route to going to them starts with fundamentals, right? Basic things, and I'll be covering them in the initiatives which I discussed. But I would really want to warn against a tendency that basic what talent acquisition process. I mean, basic thing. I mean, what's the big deal? No, there's a very big deal, right? It doesn't need to sound glamorous for it to be really really important, right? What is really important is fundamentals, right? Prioritization is extremely crucial, right? Because growing organization, you will have a sea of things. Wherever you see, you will see opportunities. It's crucial to prioritize. And when I share the initiatives with you, even those you should prioritize in terms of which will give you the most immediate results, right? Don't The idea is not to do many things together. The idea is not to have too much on your food, too much on our plate. The idea is not to be flown away with the glamorous words just because they're glamorous, right? The idea is to be focused on fundamentals. Yeah. Speed. I think one quality which, I mean, maybe tops everything else, right? A sheer ability to churn out options to work around constraints, because we'll have a lot of constraints, right? And more often than not, we'll not have the budgets, because a growing organization is like this hungry athlete, and you can't have a huge diet if you're a hungry athlete, right? You got to run, and which is why the idea is to just churn out options. I'll give you an example with 1mg. I mean, we were doing this training session and e-learning we had gotten new, and we I was personally spearheading a lot of e-learning adoption in the organization, and a very genuine problem came out. So all 1mg, as you know, primary business is delivering medicines at home. So we have these delivery centers. And delivery center is this crazy place. It's like not very different from a shop floor. You have people rushing around here and there, and the only difference from a shop floor is the activities are not standardized. There are days when there is very high demand. There are days when the demand is not less. You can't Manpower can't be changed every day, right? Everybody is running helter and skelter, basically. In a e-commerce fulfillment center, you see actually people running around, right? So the idea was that how is anyone supposed to do the e-learning program? People don't have Everybody doesn't have a smartphone. They have a lot of basic stuff also coming in. Everybody doesn't have a tablet. There are no laptops, available for everyone. How do we really do it? Quickly we turned around thoughts. We had a desktop arranged from, and desktops are easy to arrange because they are so less in demand. We had two desktops kept in the fulfillment center. They used to take lunch break for about 45 minutes. Within the lunch break, they would have the lunch, sit on the desktop, do the program, move. Other person comes, sit on the desktop, does the program, moves. Very basic example again, but the idea is speed matters, right? In growing organizations, context changes very quickly. If it takes a lot of time to execute, by the time you reach execution, maybe the reason has gone away, right? Churning out a lot of options is the key, and which ensures speed. Yeah, this is my favorite. Think tech, right? I think maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, or maybe 16 years ago, when I entered the workforce, we didn't have so much of tech, right? And which is where this is one quality which possibly was not talked about so much, but today I think every HR person has to think tech. And what do I mean by that? Anything that you do, right, check once what kind of tech is available for this. I'm not saying you wait for tech, right, but you have to know what kind of tech is available. And trust me, I'll come to I'll come to this maybe also when I discuss the initiatives. But these days in HR, we have tech for everything that you do, right? I'll cover this in the next slide. But the only the quality here is the hunger, the curiosity to just know what all is out there and what kind of options are going, right? A very very crucial quality. At least questioning yourself, what kind of tech is available? I am facing some difficulty, and I am struggling with it with conventional means, and maybe that is how I'll kind of overcome it. But is there tech available for this, right? I'll cover this more in the next slide, because this is also related to one of the trends which I wanted to share, right? If you have questions, please keep typing them, because my laptop is on full screen. I'll not be able to see all of them right now. When we have the questions, I would love to answer as many of them, right? I'll just proceed, yeah, and it's not a very long presentation which I have because I would really want to have a lot more conversations. Moving to the third topic, three top trends in HR, which I really want to share with you, right? Which I have seen because I keep scouting the market, I keep reading stuff, I keep talking to people. Being in a being having an HR marketplace, that is our task cut out. What are the three top trends? I could have given you 20, but I don't want to give you 20, right? The idea is to hit top three of them, right? First one, yeah, watch out for the great resignation, right? And many of you must have seen this term, but I'll just still tell you what this is. This is a phenomenon which pandemic gave rise to, where a flurry of resignations happened in the developed markets. Yeah, particularly the US. US is still struggling with a crazy amount of resignation. People are just leaving right, left, and center because the pandemic gave rise to very different demographic trends. People started working from home. They had a lot more time. They started exploring. Many of them went, for their own roles. Many of them, it became easy to give interviews. It became easy to job hunt. You didn't have a problem of someone asking you where were you. It led to this phenomenon called the great resignation. They're still reeling under it. 30%, 35% resignation, attrition rates are become normal, which was never the case in a developed economy like the US. Yeah. And very interestingly, I was discussing with some HR professionals because till now it hasn't happened that much in India. It has increased definitely, but it's not like a wave. And what sense that I am getting is, in fact, I was discussing that, has the great resignation not hit India at all, and can we kind of sit back and relax a little bit, that possibly we were spared, but that doesn't look like the case. I think the only difference is that pandemic also led to booms in economies because the governments really opened their purse and a lot of liquidity entered in the market, so that gave rise to a spike in economic activity which led this in India. Yeah, and with the recent budget you must have seen, and plus the economic uh, overview looking better this year, that surge in economic activity will come this year. Yeah, and with that there is a good chance that the great resignation might also come this year for us, right? And before we know, we'll have this flurry of resignations, and then we'll start running helter skelter, and by that time the wave has already hit, right? So I mean, this is the first trend. Watch out for the great resignation this year, and let's start taking preemptive actions. Let's start getting our game right before that starts happening. That is the first trend. Second trend, related to the point which I was just mentioning, today a very wide spectrum of affordable tech is available, right? So as I was saying, 16 years ago when I entered, we just had very high end tech in HR, right? It was largely, there was an SAP which had an HR module to it. There was and then there was the skills softs of the world, which were like premium high end performance management systems, which later became HRMSs, but they were very very expensive, right? And they were rigid. Then the applicability was rigid, and then we had these difficult times in really getting people to adopt. That was 16 years back. 6 to 7 years ago, we still had a wide variety of tech in different domains. So we had bots coming in, we had learning experience platforms coming in, but they were expensive, right? We had reward and recognition platforms coming in, expensive. We had e-learning modules coming in, expensive to make, right? So 6 to 7 years ago, I would say the tech had expanded in terms of the kind of offerings we had, but it was expensive, and which had its own prohibitive angle to it. Today, what I see, the trend which I see, is for every expensive option which exists, there is a cheaper option available. Yeah. To take learning management systems, you have today the top end learning management systems at 1,000 rupees per employee, 1,200 rupees per employee. You have an LMS available, doable, good quality, functional LMS available at 100 rupees an employee, 1/10. right? You have reward and recognition platforms led by an OC Tanner, which takes lakhs of rupees just to install. You have a very affordable startup, available, same functionalities. You have to take chance with the startup, one tenth the cost. So the affordability is something which I really want to highlight. You have a affordable option for every cool tech application today, right? The key lies in looking for it, testing it out. I'm not saying we blindly, take things just because they are economical, but the idea is to go out there, try things out. Software as a service is going someplace else today in the country and in the field of HR, right? Because many software engineers joined hands with HR people and started churning out HR products. So today there are very, very affordable tech options available for everything, including compliances. I know compliances consume a lot of bandwidth for a lot of you, right? Compliances I've seen extremely functional tech available, right? You get visibility, you can file, you can put responsibilities. One of the biggest problem with compliance is visibility and who's responsible for which compliance. Everything is available, affordable tech. Yeah, very, very big trend, and I would really urge all of you to just keep your radars open for this. Yeah. Third trend, use of gig workforce, right? So gig had started picking up steam 5 years back, right? Uh, the pandemic took it to some other level, right? Because many people shifted to gig, and when they shifted to gig, the bigger thing is when they did shift to gig, they realized that actually it's quite doable, and you can make good money, you can be at home and really work. So this entire virtual aspect then gave rise to, in general, a very high trend of gig workforce on in HR, very much there. Yeah. Available across levels, right from junior level to senior level, you have gig workforce available, right? Very big advantage when I come to the projects and the live implementations. I'll again highlight on this fact, but I mean, this is another trend which we should watch out for. Very, very useful thing, right? Because many activities in HR are seasonal, right? And you don't need permanent HR resources, and which is why growing organizations take very lean HR staff. But then, as HR staff of a growing organization, you might want to do a lot many more things, right? Gig is the answer, and increasingly there are platforms which provide you gig workforce against a particular demand, right? You need it for a project, take it. Need for 2 months, take it. Take we want to 6 months, take it, right? These are three very big trends which I would want to highlight at this stage, right? Without losing more time, I think I'll take next 15 minutes in going function wise. Some initiatives which I had thought growing organizations can really benefit a lot from, and I'll try to wind this down in 15 minutes. It will be 8:30 by then. We'll still have 15 minutes to really take the questions and answers. I hope this structure and flow is okay, and I can go ahead.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Thanks. Okay, let's go function wise. Some initiatives from mine which are quite impactful for growing organizations, HR, in my view. Yeah. Function one, capability building, right? Before even I get into initiatives, why this is the first function which I wanted to share? Because in my experience, this is one HR function which directly impacts business. Like as direct as you train today, the person performs tomorrow, right? I mean, all other HR functions are crucial and they have their impact, but the nature of impact, sometimes takes more time, sometimes takes less time, and they're all important. But the degree of impact of capability building is something crazy that I have seen, which is why I'm a huge fan of this particular function, right? And which is why that is function number one for me, right? Now, what are the initiatives which I would suggest, HR of a growing organization can take up? First of all, and this is my favorite theme, develop internal trainers, right? So I'll quote an example from Tata Motors. We had this great initiative, and one of the visionaries that we had, Mr. Prabir Jha, had really taken this, where we had developed internal trainers for all functions, and they were not just HR people. In fact, the idea was that it should be lesser number of HR folks and more number of business folks who should become trainers, right? This really has so many benefits. First of all, there is a big internal trainers. I was saying, and in Tata Motors, we had this great initiative happening where line people, business people from production, from quality, from sales, from marketing, from finance and legal were trained to become trainers. So generally, what we do in HR is we find a trainer and we ask a trainer, I mean, can you teach legal? Can you teach accounts? Can you teach quality? Can you teach production? I mean, the idea is to flip it around. Take a production people, teach training, rather than have a trainer and ask if they can teach production, right? Very, very helpful thing. First of all, as I was saying, there is immense help on content, because content is like the engine of L&D. Content is the king in training and development also. If you have enough amount of relevant content, then there is so much that you can do, right? Classroom trainings, e-learnings, many things. But if the content is not there, then you are stuck, right? And I have seen organizations spend immense amount of content, immense amount on developing content, where there is a agency which takes lakhs, comes down, speaks to your internal experts, builds content for you, right? I mean, if that is how content is to be built, why not develop internal trainers, right? So on content, there is great help which happens. And second advantage is it goes a long way in bringing a learning culture, right? Peers teach peers. When people see that one of us is really taking a class, teaching us, learning becomes a culture, right? Your internal trainers will become your advocates for capability building. And ultimately, a learning culture's holy grail is that if you have a situation where people are coming to you and asking for training, right? That is where you would want to go. Again, very, very doable in growing organizations, right? Second one, inculcating a habit of self e-learning. Yeah. Today, I'm really glad to share, even the Udemy's and the Coursera's of the world have slashed down their prices. E-learning programs are available for everything under the sky. Everything under the sky, especially for technical and functional skills. You get e-learning programs for everything in supply chain, production, accounting, behavioral skills, selling skills, marketing, digital marketing, everything. Yeah, you have e-learning programs available, very, 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 very economical. I mean, within what, 300 rupees a person, 400 rupees a person, and that also, if you negotiate a bulk deal, it's what, 200, 250 rupees a person. You get an amazing e-learning program, which your folks can use, right? There are, in terms of best practices, I have seen organizations who have given like a wallet to all their employees. Here's 1,000 rupees for you. Please spend in e-learning, right? Technical functional skills, very, very highly advisable. You get off the shelf content, right? Engaging, well made, with backup documents. This is something which should be really, really driven, and doesn't cost a lot, does not cost a lot. Great variety available. Third one, invest in a basic LMS, right? So again, very, 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 very basic LMSs are available at very competitive prices. The help that LMS does more than anything else is in penetration of learning initiatives. What will always happen is, and I had seen this, and you must have also seen, if you have 100 employees, there are 20 of them who are very, very interested in training, right? And who will always be the first one to raise their hands whenever there is a session, and they attend all sessions and they are sincere. But what about the 80? Ultimately, everybody needs to really go into learning. So with LMS, it becomes easier to track, to penetrate, to check who is doing, who is not doing. There's a lot of monitoring and a lot of traction which comes into penetration of learning initiatives. Again, done in growing organization, you have built a very strong thing in the DNA. Once you have an organization which is 3,000 people organization, and there is no tendency to go for trainings, I have seen LMSs after LMSs after LMSs flopping, right? Because the LMS was good enough, but people didn't have a tendency to log in and do something, right? Invest in a basic LMS, goes a long way. Yeah. Function number two, talent management. Again, at a very basic fundamental level, what can be done, right? First of all, invest disproportionately in excellent onboarding, right? This might sound casual to because onboarding, talent management, I mean, onboarding is simple, right? Somebody comes, you induct, and the person gets on the job. No, it's the first step towards managing talent. It's also the first step towards losing a talent. Let me tell you, it's a gap seen across the globe. Best of the organizations are struggling with good onboarding, right? And the reason is multiple. One, it is seen as a very small thing, so to say, basic thing. हो ही जाएगा, मतलब it will all, obviously it will happen, but doesn't happen, right? It falls in the cracks somewhere between learning teams and talent acquisition teams, and somehow the tendency of people managers, as soon as the resource comes in, they just want to pocket the resource. Not even 3 days they would want to give for onboarding and many things, right? But ultimately, for a new joinee, it makes all the difference, right? Somebody comes in new, doesn't even know stuff around, and is not even onboarded properly. You've already half lost the person, right? At the same time, somebody is new and you treat the person really, really well. You have built the love already with the organization, right? So onboarding is the first step towards talent management. Again, very good tech available, because I know, it's the virtual days, joinings are happening virtually. So can onboarding, right? Everything that you could have done can happen on, virtually. And in fact, in many ways, it's better. Your CEO can't interact with every physical onboarding batch, but you can have a recorded video of the CEO and play it for everybody who's onboarded, right? Some great tech happening in onboarding also. Invest disproportionately, and even after disproportionate investment, it will not be very huge in amount, but the idea is to just give it that much of attention. Second, build career paths, right? Today's, and I was going through a survey of millennials, and this was done by Salesforce, and almost 40% of millennials value meaningful work more than money. I'm not, I'll share, maybe I'll circulate it through PMA, the link with you guys. Millennials, particularly younger employees, see a lot of value for doing meaningful work, but they want to see a visibility quickly, right? They want to join an organization. They want to see what will I be doing 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, right? In growing organizations, because the structure is still lucid, you don't have a lot of layers, you don't have tons of people, you can still show them a career path, and really a career path which they can achieve in reasonably less time, right? Show it to them, tell them you're doing good. 3 years down the line, you will be able to become this. Say it. The idea is to, like it to be in the person's mind that yes, I have a career path here. It's not just this role that I am doing. I have 3 years to look forward to, right? Standardized career paths, great initiative. Third one and actually fourth one are related. Again, give disproportionate focus to high performing talent. Let there be role models, right? When I say disproportionate focus, it's fast growth, quick promotions, giving them high responsibilities early on, right? Recognition with the leaders, where the approachability of the senior leaders is a great advantage. So let a high performer feel royal, right? And let there be these role models who grow very fast and who inspire a lot others, right? Now this requires a little bit of designing. So high potential identification requires a little bit of designing. I'm not saying you have an assessment center every time, but it requires some bit of designing. It requires some bit of external support, so to say. And again, here is where gig HR talent is really helpful. In a virtual way, you can have somebody who is very well versed with talent management, who has done and seen talent management done by the Mercers and the Hewitts of the world, and who knows how is it done. And at 1/10 of a Hewitt or a Mercer cost, they'll design it for you and you can roll it out, right? That is the advantage. In fact, that is a very big advantage of gig HR talent, right? Things which some years some years ago, only expensive consulting organizations would do for you. Today, somebody who has experienced those organizations as a freelancer today can bring to you in 1/20th of the cost of what it would cost for a you to do it, right? Use these is what I would suggest. But high potential identification, fast tracking of careers, building career paths, they all go together in building a high performance culture, right? Again, a big word, but simplified here. Yeah, and use gig talent in the designing stuff, right? What can we do there? Again, talking tech here, invest in basic applicant tracking systems. Again, don't go for the workdays of the world. I'm not suggesting that, right? Very, very basic applicant tracking. At least what is the funnel, what is happening with who is sitting on the CV, who is not moving, who is moving, which recruiter is doing what kind of a job, which function is getting what kind of a hit rate. You will be amazed at the kind of insights you will get if you have a basic applicant tracking system which tells you how is the funnel moving for your applicants, right? It will optimize your efforts greatly. Otherwise, one very big problem with talent acquisition is wasted efforts. We keep doing interviews, candidates keep getting rejected, interviews rejection, interview rejection. We don't know what is going on, right? And we don't have analytics to stop and think and figure out that where is the leakage in the funnel, right? So basic ATS, which gives you an idea of this leakage, will optimize your efforts greatly, right? So reasonable investment, but worth doing, right? Launching innovative practices to bring speed. Now, I'm a fan of Accenture here, so not a growing organization anymore, but this is one thing which I keep quoting. I have been in HR myself, and one thing which always happens is everybody wants candidates, but no one wants to give time for interviews. Like good old age problem still existing that much more, and when they'll not get candidates, HR is not getting. So instead of going into the fighting mode, Accenture took out a very good way, slightly different of the track, but I love it. They started, incentivizing taking interviews, right? And like cash incentive. So I'm not saying everybody should do cash incentive. Accenture is Accenture, but they incentivized. Take interviews, go through the structured process, give your time for taking interviews, take away some bit of incentives. Nothing wrong. In fact, I love the idea. Why should we feel that everybody should come because they need people? Innovative practices to bring in speed, and again the analytics will give you a lot of ideas, right? Use social media extensively to source talent, although it's not a secret anymore, but a very vast kind of, I have seen talent acquisition people who are sourcing through Twitter, which is like crazy, but social media, that is the kind of traction it brings in. You just need a name and you need a profile, right? And then you can chase the candidate. So unconventional social media also should be used. I'm sure all of you, in fact, all of us have been using LinkedIn, but there are many more, right? They should be extensively used to source talent. Great sourcing support available today, and developing relationships for fresher talent, right? Colleges and institutes. See, these grow over a period of time. They solve your sourcing problem. I know the first thought which comes into our mind is we take freshers, they use us as training ground, they go to a bigger brand. What I would say is assume that is going to happen, right? Whoever has to stay will stay if we talent manage them right. Whoever has to go will anyways go. Let's have them at least coming in, while we make a brand for ourselves, and let's train them quickly, which is where I'm connecting the dots with capability building. Let's train them quickly. Till the time they are there, let them give their best, right? But hiring fresher talent is highly suggested again for growing organizations, because they also get a more complex, lesser complex beast to work with, and we also get a assured sourcing channel. Yeah. So on talent acquisition, this is what I wanted to suggest. I will slightly move quickly here, just 2 more minutes, and I'll complete my presentation and I'll stop for questions. Compensation, just one thing, right? Removing the discrepancies. Executive. There is an executive, there is a senior executive, and there is a manager. The manager is getting less than the senior executive, right? I mean, these are the kind of discrepancies which never go away, like never go away. In fact, once you become big, you can do nothing about it, right? If you have them today, have a logic behind them, make sure it doesn't happen, right? Otherwise, I have seen organizations scratching their hair that what is happening. I mean, somebody who's 2 levels up is getting less, somebody 2 levels down is getting more, and I mean, how did this happen? I've literally sat in these discussions where I have had CEOs question, how did this happen? And the idea is it happened when we were a growing organization, and somehow somebody just wanted to take a person, offered, got the person. Nobody built a logic on who is being offered what. So build a logic today, right? Job evaluation, which is like the basic of compensation, and again, in traditional times used to be a very specialized, expensive exercise. Not today, right? Use gig. Again, the same logic applies. You'll have gig people who have worked with the Hayes model, who have worked with the Mercer's model of job evaluation, who know how it works. They'll create a model for you, and 1/10 of the cost again, right? Basic job evaluation, basic logic of compensation, very, very crucial. Third, very important, decide your compensation philosophy and roadmap today. So you must have heard about these percentiles, and we should be in the 50th percentile, and we should be in the 70th percentile. One, deciding it is required, and second, it takes time. Today, if you are at 45th percentile and your compensation philosophy says, I want to go to 70th percentile, you'll take at least 3 years. At least 3 years. You can't do it the next performance cycle. You can't give 40% raises, right? And the competition is also giving raises. Right? So it takes time. You got to decide the philosophy today. Seed these things in today's compensation at your organization, and your HR generations to come will praise you that somebody had a sensible compensation structure around and used gig, right? Last one, and then I'll stop. Employee engagement. I am again a huge fan, right? Driving a sense of we are a family is much easier in a growing organization, right? Again, because it's a small setup, leaders are visible, leaders are approachable, and this sense of belonging goes a long way in retaining people, right? Employee engagement always have a special role. Initiatives have a special role in creating this sense of belongingness because they become like a melting pot for all the good things being done. They're quicker to execute. Everybody comes together. You have reward and recognition where you reinforce culture, where you reinforce values, where you reinforce performance, where you reinforce internal trainers. So it just becomes a melting pot of everything, right? Employee engagement again looks like a small thing like onboarding, but goes a long way because it brings the feeling of belongingness. And the lifeblood of engagement activity is variety, right? That is the only thing, one engagement activity, the interest goes down in 6 months. You got to have something fresh coming up. So always keep hunting for newer methods, which is where marketplaces like ours really comes to a lot of relevance because we have a variety of, what you can do in engagement. So employee engagement, extremely crucial, right? And should never be underestimated. Last slide, a note on gig HR, right? So as I was saying, from entry level to senior level to even CHROs are available today, virtually, that is made a lot of difference. That has made a lot of difference. And ultimately the advice, ultimately the talent, ultimately the execution muscle is available to you, right? The idea is to go out and use it, right? This virtual way has really added to this trend, immensely. Use gig HR to execute because I'm sure and I hope that these slides would have given you some ideas on executing. But one thought which must be coming in your time, where is the time to do all these? Use flexi talent, use gig HR talent, and go about the execution. That is it from my end. 5 minutes I've overshot my time, but I will stop now. And if there are any questions, then I would really love to take them.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, and Anku, and thank you. And it was really a kind of a feast for us, Avijit, on a very new topic and trending subject. And especially I liked about the gig HR kind of a aspect which you have covered very newly.
Sure.
So it was wonderful to listen to you on various aspects, and I think the kind of a thought process and the thought clarity you have given it to all participants is amazing.
Thanks.
And I really appreciate the way you have explained in a very simple way. See, participants, I think today we are in an age where we are growing as a country. And of course, when country is growing, there are different set of industries are growing. One is startup, small and medium, and then large companies. But then there is a flurry of startups and small scale and medium organizations to grow. And the kind of entrepreneurship is growing in young age, and young generation is coming into the setting up the enterprises is amazing. And what they need, a lot of things which Abhijit covered, which I'm going to talk about. In early stage, when the organization is growing, I think what he said, that you have a lot of proximity to a lot of stakeholders, and that is very clear. You build relationship, you build credibility, you get a lot of insights of the business, and that makes your foundation very strong and solid. And taking from that, it becomes a more partnership role, and it's easy to slip in to the administrative role, which is very easy. to get in, and it's popular also. Maybe early stages when you are creating the infrastructure, people are suffering for some basic things, and you provide that, and then they thank you 100 times. But then you are not contributing to the organization growth which is happening. And companies who are already established, trying to grow, they need lot of preparation from HR, which mainly we miss because we are used to take instructions and not strategize at our level. And I'm not bothered about what level you are. I think you can make the difference in your job and your role which you are performing. In organization, I would say there are individual and there is organization. In this, when we think of individual, the mindset is a priority, and in organization that becomes a culture. And when you're talking about skills, in individual, that finally gets converted into the systems and processes what you make. So these four elements are critically important, and Avijit touched those very finely. Gets the job on the rolls. It was really good to listen from a very basketed approach on all the aspects of human resources. And I liked actually two or three points which I'm going to talk and then stop. One, he talked about speed, because growing organization, people are making progress, market is hitting on the door, and then you are approaching and you are responding to that. Speed is very important, and I think that becomes a key differentiator for HR. Then secondly, even if it's small or a big, innovation mind is critical for HR to take. Like employee engagement activities he talked about. I think every 6 8 months the things are changing. The way people connect is different. 2 years back, we never used the social media what we are using today. So I think sensitivity towards what is happening outside will give you that innovative mindset. Third is lean but simple kind of a steps. Simplicity is beauty, and that will take the things ahead. Think big, but take small steps. Maybe if you're talking about creating the talent pool, then a small step what he talked about is onboarding, which is problem in all big, small, medium organizations, which is ignored. Once the person is delivered in the organization, thereafter God knows how he learns. So small thing like buddy is not working. So how you can really create the onboarding systems. And the last but not least, what he touched upon is inclusion. So you need to include stakeholders in your initiatives, and your customer is employee. But at the same time, the beneficiary is organization. So you need to have a right balance between the customer and the beneficiary. So if you weave these aspects into the HR, what we are doing in growing organization, I think you can do wonders. In my experience, I have been part of many growing organization, and I can relate to Avijit's points, and really can not. I can't agree more with Avijit what he's talking about HR's role in growing organization. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thanks for the ratification. It means a lot personally to me. I think well said by you. I think innovation, speed. I'm a passionate follower of these, and which is what I translated. I think we have some 2 3 minutes left. I would love to answer the questions that were shared. I think Viman sir has shared this question around line of sight. As I am reading the chat, how should an HRBP establish a line of sight between an employee and the big picture? I think, sir, and others, very good initiatives are happening on this front. This is a challenge, I know, because how do we connect a employee doing his or her everyday job with the big picture? And this is where again tech comes into the picture. And I was personally amazed at the kind of tech which is available, and I would just want to share it with you, because vision is an experience, vision is an emotion. One feels vision. Vision is not something that you mug up, right? And I have seen activities where the entire vision exercise was tech enabled, through virtual drawing. I have experienced these sessions where 150 200 employees were connected over Zoom. It's a tech enabled picture interpretation activity through which a leader conveys the vision, and it is unforgettable. Yeah, it is unforgettable. I would love to, if I would have had time, I would have shown more, but we can always connect offline. But there is, so the idea is today there is tech which enables this line of sight where the vision that a leader carries is expressed using tech and using emotions and using engaging activities so that it reaches an employee's heart. And I think that is how the line of sight can be built. That is my my thought process on that. And the second question is by Nikhil, which looks to be around industry 5.0. Which professions you need to develop as a professional HR? I think what type of job trends? See, I think one thing that I would really want to Nikhil share here is our ability to generate tech talent, right? We are, I mean, all the results, all the reports are saying that tech will never go out of picture, right? And whether it be manufacturing tech or it be coding tech, the idea is that tech is required and tech is not available. You have this insane news coming in where tech talent has been given BMW bikes to really retain them, right? It happens because it is not being generated that much. So I think developing tech talent, ingrown tech talent through capability building is one thing which every HR should do. Take freshers, take people who are willing to learn, maybe not there, but willing to learn. Take them, train them, and deploy them. I think that would immensely support Industry 5.0 in my opinion. Yeah. That is my thought. We are at 8:45, so I am stopping now. Anku, over to you. How do we take this ahead? Over to you.
Yes, sir. Now I would request Stuti Dua to please take over further.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Now, on behalf of PMA, it's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this event. We all are grateful to our distinguished guest speaker, Mr. Abhijit Shastri, sir, for not only sparing his invaluable time, but also for enlightening us with his commendable talk on the subject. Thank you, Samir Kukade, sir, for the concluding note. Also, I would like to thank Pradeep Tupe, sir, and PMA team for putting so much efforts and arranging such amazing sessions. Lastly, I would like to thank all the attendees for coming up with their questions and turning the session interactive and more meaningful. With this, I would like to conclude with a quote: "Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts."